These are scary times. Africa Stream has been deplatformed everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, these guys have been wiped off the face of social media. And they were deplatformed because of their position on what is going on in Somalia and the US government's role in what is going on in Somalia. Now, I'm not going to say anything crazy in this video because they will deplatform me too. So I'm not going to say anything crazy. When Africa Stream got taken down, and this is very recent, this is in the last few days, a video was put out that I watched. I watched this video, which has like millions of followers. In fact, let me actually see how many followers this channel has. Voice of America has 3.44 million followers, subscribers on YouTube. And they put out a video, which is strange to me because, listen, I'm going to tell you what the video is, but listen to these statistics here, or listen to this description. VOA is funded in whole or in part by the American government. Let that sink in when I tell you what I'm going to tell you. This YouTube channel, Voice of America, is funded by the US government. They talk about African Stream by name. This is a YouTube channel. Why is a government-funded channel talking about a YouTube channel by name? That is, and this YouTube channel has been deplatformed. Voice of America has released a video, which again, like I said, I watched, which refutes Africa Stream's position on the situation in Somalia and America's role in it. I've never seen anything so crazy in my life. Like, you know the way that people make videos on YouTube and people have different positions. You've seen the insane positions that right-wing or conservative commentators have on all these issues. And even on Africa, they say the craziest things about African governments, about African leaders, about African politics, about African society. That is completely fine by YouTube. On social media, you can say all of that stuff. If it's okay. A channel comes out and says that the US is doing certain things. I'm not even going to say it because they're probably going to come and get me. Are doing certain things. And because that is against the perspective of the US government, those guys are removed from view. Because the way that I view it is that you've just put out a video refuting everything that African Stream is saying about drone strikes in Somalia. That's what you've done. You've said that, everything that these guys are saying is false. Isn't it right for us to be able to see the other side of the argument? Just because you say it's false, does that mean it's false? Isn't that what free speech is? Or at least having a fair and balanced debate and conversation about something? Shouldn't we be allowed to make our own decisions by seeing both sides of the fence? Because it's to do with Al-Shabaab, which is a Al-Qaeda affiliated terrorist group that's been operating in Somalia. That's what I watched on the Voice of America video, because I haven't been following that story at all. So I was watching that and they were saying that the US government has been fighting against that terrorist group. Does that sound familiar about the Sahel situation? Does that sound familiar? Has been fighting against that terrorist group and that the drones that have been dropped have been against that group. That's what the Voice of America channel is saying on behalf of the US government. And they also brought up the fact that African Stream put up a graphic on Twitter, which put up, this is what made me say, Meg, you might have to stop making like they said something that I've said. They said it doesn't matter who you vote for between Donny T and Kamala Harris, because the policy of the actual US government is to continue drone striking folks, innocent civilians. Like, that is what African Stream said in the post. And they put out a graphic and they put Obama and Trump next to each other and showing all the drones drops that had happened during their presidencies. And then they said that it doesn't matter who wins between these new guys coming in, because it's just going to be more of the same. I said that in my video about Kamala. That's what I said. I said, for the African people, we need to look at this from our perspective and not be focused on what the West is telling us as far as who is the best candidate to be president. First case in point is that it matters to us who's president because they'll be dropping bombs on our heads in Africa or in other parts of the world. But, sanctions and all the kind of stuff that goes on. The second factor is the foreign policy of the United States affects the entire world. So everybody should be interested in who becomes president, especially when the people who are vying for office have already shown themselves to be doing certain things. Because let's not forget, Kamala Harris has been vice president for 2 years. Yes, you're not the one making the policies, but you've presided over, or rather been involved in an administration that has done a lot of things to sanction African nations who are trying to do what they're trying to do. So my thing is that when I look at African Stream situation and I see that these guys got taken down, guys, we're not free to talk. I'm telling you, we are not free to talk. Like, before I came on to make this video, I actually made a list. I actually decided that these are all the things I'm not going to say. I can't say a lot of things because guys are watching now. And the reason why Africa Stream got into that problem is because they had 445,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's why. And they were getting clipped and shared a lot. They're not really looking at me because I haven't even got into 100K yet. I'm almost there. Almost there. So make sure you guys are all subscribed. I'm getting there. But till I get to those higher echelons, I'm probably flying under the radar, because that's exactly what happened to me on TikTok. When I had like 50,000 followers on TikTok, 6,000, I was saying some wild stuff. Nobody cared. I was saying whatever I felt like. I felt the difference when I got to 400,000 followers. From the second that happened and I crossed that 400,000 mark, I was getting strikes for fun. For fun. The growth from 400,000 to where I'm at now, which is like 530K on that particular account, has been painful. They've done everything but just kick me off the platform. And as anybody who's watched my content knows, I don't post hateful or crazy content. Everything I post, I'm being thoughtful about what I'm saying. I'm not being crazy. You know what though? This is the thing. They did this very quietly. And that's because Africans don't really have don't have a voice. There is no platform run by an African. When I say platform, forget even having a platform. I mean, that's too much. Forget platform. There is no channel. There is no creator of African descent who commands 7 million subscribers or followers. 8 million, nobody. Only comedians like Kabelami and all these other people who are making people laugh. If you're harmless and you're making people laugh, for 100%. Or you're doing something benign, Marquise Brownlee, all of these sort of black creators, you can have 10 million followers or 50 million. There is no African or black political commentator. I don't even say commentator, just somebody who just talks about real societal issues that are of pertinent, urgent interest to the black and African and diaspora community that has a serious following. Why? Because you don't control those algorithms. Because if anybody is going to tell you that YouTube and all these platforms cannot figure out who to show those videos to, because they always say that we're just trying to satisfy the audience. If people want to watch it, we want to put the videos in front of people that want to watch it. You think that 100 million Africans on YouTube and TikTok do not want to watch videos about what's going on in Africa? Seriously? You think that they don't want to watch that? You're having a laugh. Anybody who's watching this video that actually believes that, you're having a laugh. Shame on you if you believe that. That ain't true. The reality is that, and again, look, the way that I view these things is that it's logical. If I was in a country and I have influence, I'm not going to allow another nation or other people using my platform to go against what feeds me. In fact, I think the only group of people who allow that to happen in their own countries or in their own environments are black people, like, Africans or black people. Like, we're the only one who tolerates that sort of thing, where somebody from an outside your community can come into your community, leech off you and exploit you and then tell you what you can and can't do. Or actually criticize you and do all this sort of stuff. Like, we're the only people who tolerate that sort of thing. Nobody else does. Because what happened to Africa Stream, I'm looking at it and I say, well, yes, it's unfortunate, but you are on an American platform. YouTube is an American platform. So at some point, if you're going after the United States, at some point, they're going to come for you. If what you're saying starts hitting too close to home. Because you bet your bottom dollar, if what those guys were saying wasn't having any impact, they would have been left alone. The problem is that what they were saying was actually making people think about certain things. I know about African Stream. I've seen the videos, because if you're in this space, you see their videos come up once in a while. But guys, people are dropping like flies in this space. Do you know how many people have made that? There was somebody called Wanjiku Stevens who messaged me on Instagram, and I've been speaking to. She's a Kenyan content creator. And then one day I went to her channel and she's gone. It got deleted. I was like, whoa, recently. There's another few creators that are on Instagram that I followed, and I was trying to tag them, and then it gave me a warning saying that they're spreading fake news and they've got warnings and strikes, and are you sure you want to tag these people? I was like, what is going on? Multiple African content creators. I kid you not, folks. That's what's going on in these streets behind closed doors. And I'm thinking that, wait a minute, I know these channels. What did they spread that is... What did they spread that is so dangerous that you have to give a warning to other content creators to not tag them in their videos. Because listen, it could also be the fact that your community is abusing your report feature, which is what happens on TikTok and social media, that people get together and say, 1,000 of us, we need to go and report this video because we want to get this creator kicked off or sanctioned or have a strike on their videos or their accounts. That sort of stuff happens. And, you know, as I've said a million times, Black and African people do not operate that way. We just don't. As a group community, don't tend to go into that kind of strategic sniping. So, for example, you do not have like a bunch of Black folks going looking for white supremacist channels and content creators and unifying to report bomb them or get their accounts hacked or taken. We don't do that, or doxing that. We don't do that sort of thing en masse. I mean, maybe there's somebody who's done it, but it's not something that everybody's doing. But it is being done to you because I've experienced it. And I'm saying that it is very scary that a channel can just be wiped off the internet because they have a different point of view to the status quo. And then on top of that, a government-funded channel then puts out a PR campaign against that channel. And you know why? I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave it here because I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want to get too messed up with it. The reason why they did that is because Africans are supposed to be dumb. You're a bunch of muppets. That's what we are. We're a bunch of morons. You've been able to bamboozle guys for hundreds of years. And in the last 60, 70 years of alleged independence, you don't even have to deal with the public African, the regular African on the streets, because they're a bunch of lemmings. We can assassinate any of their leaders we feel like. They know it's happened. But then what are they going to do? They're going to say anything? We put up a leader that we like, and they will rule them for 50, 60, 70 years. Biya of Cameroon is about to be 100 years old in office. They don't care. Bongo was there for 50-something years. They don't care. Like, all of these sorts of guys, they don't really care about that sort of stuff. And the people of the African countries are annoyed, but they're not going to do anything because they know that how disingenuous are you that you're talking about democracy and coming in to force particular presidents out, but you have nothing to say about the presidents who've been there for 50, 60, 70 years. You're doing state visits with those guys. That's fine. But other guys who are only there for 2 years, 5 years, but you don't like their policies. Democracy. So the problem here is the fact that when you have African content creators that are inspiring thoughts, guys, listen to what the Mech is trying to tell you. See this? That's dangerous because Africans are not supposed to think. You're supposed to be an animal that reacts to things. You know, animals are instinct-based. And that's the reason why it's easy to control an animal, because they're based on instinct. Dangle the food, they'll do this. Withhold the food, they'll do this. Give them shelter, they'll love you. Withhold the shelter, they'll hate you. Do this, they'll do that. Put them on a leash. That's how animals behave. Humans are not like that, because once a human starts thinking, what happens when you think and things don't make sense? You ask questions. And if those questions have answers that do not make sense, when they answer it doesn't make sense, you ask more questions. And if they keep giving you answers that make no sense, you start rebelling because you say that, listen, nothing you're saying makes sense, not to the reality we're living in. That's what these guys are afraid of. Because if you say that you've got the facts of the truth, leave them there and you show us the truth and let us make up our minds. Isn't that the way it's supposed to work? Leave them. They are talking nonsense, right? It's all a bunch of lies. Why the hell do you have to make a video talking about how they made a Twitter post that's a lie? And you tell us the truth. The truth should make sense. Lies don't make sense. Once you interrogate a lie enough, it starts looking stupid. It doesn't make sense. The truth always makes sense, because you will always be able to produce enough factual evidence to support the fact that what you're saying is true. Liars can't produce the evidence because it never happened that way, if at all. So when you interrogate it enough, you realize that you ain't got nothing but what you tell me. Because when I look at those two groups, Voice of America and Africa Stream, you're both just telling me stuff. So why should I believe one over the other? Oh, you can Google it. But then I'm like, who owns Google and all the articles that are even allowed to be on Google versus the ones that aren't? So then I want more. I want to hear more voices. You see what I'm saying? But we're all just bumbling about, allowing stuff like this to happen. And not because you see, something like this could not happen in other communities for people who are speaking for them, because they brought up other points about the fact that the person who runs Africa Stream was a former commentator or contributor to an Iranian funded. Why are you even bringing that up? Is to bring that up is to tie them to Iran, who is an enemy of America. Like, that's the point of making that statement, is that we need to tie this channel that has been taken down and we are trying to discredit with a certified terrorist harboring nation that we are basically at war with. So any American who sees this video is going to run interference for us on our behalf, because they're going to say that those people are basically a terrorist channel. Because I don't know what him working for an Iranian TV station has to do with anything, other than you're trying to discredit what the person is or the channel is saying. Now, as I've said, guys, I have not been following the Somalia story, so I'm not coming to sit here and tell you that I have all the details. I don't. This is an ideological video where I'm talking about the fact that we're all messed up. We're finished. And I keep trying to tell people, my days on this channel might be numbered. It might be numbered. I mean, I'm trying to avoid it because I'm not putting out hateful videos. I just do these commentary videos. I have my proper videos, which are different, my edited videos, but these are my commentary podcast videos. But I don't view myself as like that kind of controversial. You know that there are people who make videos that are designed to be incendiary. You know, I mean, they're really insulting, abrasive, all of that stuff. I don't do that. But the problem here is that it's not about that. It's about truth or about information that certain folks do not want to be talked about or out there. That's what this is about. Do you know the question I get asked the most on my platform about African history and current affairs? I want to visit or move to Africa, but where do I start? Thousands of you replied to my post sharing the exact same desire, but the idea of moving or even visiting to check if Africa is for you felt overwhelming, especially with all the negative propaganda about Africa being unsafe and underdeveloped or poverty-stricken. So, to help my community in the US, UK, Canada, Germany, France, I came up with a solution. Pay attention. Here is the Back to Africa Handbook, a 60-page simple guide to jumpstart your plans to visit or move to Africa. It covers everything from advice on travel, accommodation, cost of living, healthcare, safety, schools, citizenship pathways, and my personal tips as a native African. It's released on October 1st as a digital ebook direct from me to your inbox, with a 50% discount for those who sign up now. The link is in my profile bio wherever you're watching this.